In this video, I will be going over my attempts at doing a hardcore Nuzlocke for Pokemon Inclement Emerald. Inclement Emerald is a ROM hack created by Buffel Saft and, as the name suggests, is a remake of Pokemon Emerald with Pokemon's moves and abilities, items, game mechanics, and the Pokemon themselves updated up to Generation 7. The game also introduces a lot of quality of life changes, including getting to update your Pokemon's EVs, IVs, and natures, along with reusable TMs and berries. Most interesting of all, you can choose from any of the 21 starters from the first 7 generations. During a Nuzlocke, there's 2 main rules to follow. Number 1, if your Pokemon faints during battle, it has to be released or boxed permanently. And number 2, you may only catch 1 Pokemon per route or location. Additional rules for a hardcore Nuzlocke include not using items in battle except for held items, no overleveling past the next gym leader's highest level Pokemon, or Ace, and playing on set mode. Additionally, I play with several clauses including Dupes clause, Pinwheel clause, and Gift clause. The rules are explained in the description as well. Without any further delay, let's get into the attempts. Attempt 1 ends when I lose to the first rival fight with my Chimchar vs Maze Mudkip. Attempt 2 goes better as I pick Piplup and I'm able to beat Maze Draco. Our mom very kindly gives us the Old Rod, which will let us obtain a few more water types before Roxanne. I almost lose to my first encounter on Route 101, a level 2 Poochyena, but end up catching it with Piplup at 2 HP. Our next encounters are Snubbull, Corphish, Goldeen, Ledybug, Pidgey, and Skitty. For the first gym with Roxanne, I lead with Prinplup, and she leads with Aron. I take it out without taking any damage, but its held focus sash means that it can set up Stealth Rock, which will chip all incoming Pokemon for the rest of the battle. Lileep comes in, and I switch to Poochyena for a Valiant Sacrifice, not before it manages to get off a few bites for chip damage. I bring in Snubbull, which is Fairy type in this game, and it manages to take out Lileep with a few bites and lucky flinches, not before losing over half its health though. Anorith comes in, and I didn't know that Cut is a Steel type move in this game, but Snubbull manages to survive at 1 HP. I switch in Corphish and the prehistoric bug eats its held Oranberry. Because Snubbull got a charm off, Anorith is now at -2 attack, and so Roxanne switches to Tyrant and it takes a Bubble Beam before its held red card switches in my Prinplup. I'm really lucky that Snubbull wasn't switched in, otherwise a brave little dog would have died on my watch despite its very strong will to live. I take out Tyrant and Anorith greedily eats another berry before fainting to Bubble Beam as well. Nosepass comes in and troubles me with Rock Tomb. I switch to Corphish to sacrifice it, because frankly it's pretty useless in the game. Sorry to all you Corphish fans out there, I'm one of you, but it's like really bad. Goldeen comes in to take out Nosepass and the incoming Amora uses Thunder Wave to slow it down and eventually take it out, but Goldeen has done its job. Prinplup comes in to get revenge and I have beaten Roxanne with 3 deaths. A bad start, but considering this is my first real attempt, I'm just glad that I made it past her. She gives me the Stone Badge and a bunch of useful items along with the TM for Rock Tomb. I catch a Wooper and Small Ant is proud of me. I also catch Chingling and Execute but accidentally faint my Granite Cave encounter, a Timber, because I'm an idiot. Remoraid, Cutiefly, which would be great for Brawly, and Hoot Hoot round out our encounters. Ledybug evolves into Ledian, which gets the ability Aerialate and a buffed attack stat, which make it another amazing Pokemon for Brawly, especially with flying type Comet Punches. I can also talk to the Yosan in the Pokemon Center to help my team remember moves and learn new ones for free. Lastly, by talking to a chef in Slateport City, I can change the natures of my Pokemon to the most optimal ones. For example, Ledian and Granbull now have an Adamant nature, which means a higher attack stat and a lower special attack stat. On to Brawly, who is much easier than Roxanne. Ledian takes out Meditite with Comet Punch. Quagsire uses Yawn to put Hitmonchan to sleep, which is then taken out by Ribombee. Ledian then takes out Breloom. Quagsire can then help Ledian take out Lucario and Granbull take out Dewott. Granbull then uses Charm to bring Hariyama down to -6 attack as it keeps going for bulk ups. I switch to Ribombee, which resists every move from Hariyama and can take it out with Draining Kiss, thus winning me the battle versus Brawly completely deathless. Next up is a fight with Team Aqua leader Archie in Slateport City, who has a Mightyena, Crobat, and Sharpedo. Ribombee, Empoleon, and Octillery, which was caught in Dewford, can handle them well though. The celebration though is short-lived, as I unfortunately lose Ribombee to Pokefan Caleb's Emolga after it crit me with an Acrobatics. That's death number 4 and I definitely should have played around the crit. I have to move on and unfortunately again, that's when tragedy strikes. I accidentally go into the May fight on Route 110 unprepared. In this game, she has a full team of 6 and is a massive threat. Being underprepared also makes me panic and I make a bunch of awful decisions. The most problematic of these is not staying in with the Executor on Grovyle because I wrongly assumed that Fury Cutter would take it out. This causes the 5th death in Chingling and causes me to lose a lot of my momentum. By the time I take out Grovyle, the remaining 5 Pokemon are at around 50% HP and the rest of May's team take me out. A lot to learn from that attempt. Firstly, I should know when it's best to sack a Pokemon. If I was willing to sack Chingling earlier along with one other Pokemon, I could have won easily. Secondly, I should always do damage calculations as I could have won deathless if I had checked the damage from Fury Cutter from Grovyle on Executor. Lastly, I should definitely not accidentally run into fights that I know about. For attempt 3, I decide to go with Froakie as my starter. My encounters before Roxanne are Zigzagoon, Magikarp, Lotad, Corphish again, Azurill, Cascoon, Petilil, and Starly. For Roxanne, I lead with Staravia, which uses Revenge and then Quick Attack to take out Aron without letting it set up Stealth Rock. Petilil then takes out Lileep, Staravia and Lombre take out Tyrant, Corphish takes out Anorith, and I use it as a planned sacrifice to Nosepass after hitting it with the Bubble Beam. A safe switch into Frogadier means that I can take out Nosepass and Amora without many issues. One badge down and I only lost Corphish. Once again, Corphish fans, I'm sorry. I can now evolve Magikarp into arguably the best Nuzlocke Pokemon of all time, Kaido the Gyarados. And you know what they say, in a 1v1, always bet on Kaido. I also get a few new encounters, Whismur, Dynamo, Finneon, the Bebe the Flabebe, Mine Jr., Staryu, and Makuita. I delay my Route 115 encounter because once I have access to Surf, there's a slim chance that I can get Swallow. In between though, I accidentally accept May's offer to fight me in Rustobro, but can beat her easily because Gyarados, which has access to Dragon Rage now, Azumarill and Frogadier make her a cakewalk. Frawley time, and Mr. Mime leads to Encore Meditite into using Light Screen. I then use Confusion 3 times to take it out, and bring Breloom down to very low HP before it puts me to sleep. Dustox switches in and takes out Breloom, and Starmie can then take out Dewott after Electric paralyzes it. Electric also paralyzes Hitmonchan, and through some safe switching, I can get it at -2 attack with Gyarados' Intimidate. A held Wakanberry prevents it from dying, and 2 Dragon Rages are enough to take out the Jackie Chan impersonator. I use some pivoting again to get Starmie in a position to take out Lucario. I can then use another planned sacrifice and let Hariyama take out Dustox. Azumarill can charm Hariyama down to -6 attack, which lets me use Mr. Mime once it wakes up, and Starmie to take it out. I did play around a few critical hits there, but I'm able to make it out with only one planned death again. The Slateboard Museum fight with Archie is deathless once again thanks to Hariyama, Electros, and Gyarados. I catch a Magnemite on Route 110 and exact revenge on Pokefan Caleb with Lilligant, which is part Fairy type and now has access to Quiver Dance, thus making it my mid-game MVP. Quiver Dance, Sleep Powder, and Draining Kiss, which is buffed to 80 base power, along with a held Big Root, means that Lilligant trivializes most non-boss fights. I am prepared for the May fight this time around and lead with Magneton against Swallow, which uses U-turn. Ponyta switches in, but can be easily taken out with A crit would have been curtains for Gyarados, but I, being such a great Nuzlocker, knew that it would not get the critical hit. Definitely did not forget that Ponyta had a quad effective move against Gyarados despite literally pulling up the movesets right as the battle started. Lilligant takes out Grovyle, Magneton takes out Swallow, and helps Greninja take out Starmie. Mimikyu's last up, and defensive Electros defeats it with a combination of Thunder Wave, Acid Spray, and Thunderbolt without taking any damage. This is now my furthest attempt, and I've only had 2 planned deaths. Wally in Mobile City is an easy victory, so I'll skip him. I get my first round type, Barboach, and Meowth. I name the latter Posse because Chat and I are very mature. Both of these Pokemon will be useful for the 3rd gym for similar reasons. At Ventaturf Glade, which is a new location, I can get a static Audino. On to Watson, who leads with Galvantula, and I lead with Whiscash to bait Giga Drain. I switch to Magneton, and Tri-Attack brings it down to low health while taking 2 nasty Bug Buzzes in return. Critical hits are modified to do 50% more damage rather than double damage as they used to do before Generation 6, so I was always safe there. Hariyama can then switch in on Galvantula and take a Bug Buzz moderately well before using Fake Out for the kill without letting Galvantula set up Sticky Web. Alolan Raichu comes in and threatens with Psychic. I switch in Persian with the held eject button to take the hit and allow a free switch into Lilligant. I use Quiver Dance but Psychic crits and gets a special defense drop. This is really bad. I have to risk a Sleep Powder miss because I probably wipe otherwise, and Draining Kiss at +1 does not get the knockout. Thankfully, Sleep Powder hits and I nail Draining Kiss to heal me out of range for a normal Psychic to kill. I decide to play aggressively by going for a Quiver Dance to bring me to +1 special defense and hope that Raichu won't wake up and get the crit. Unfortunately, Raichu does wake up but does not get the crit, leaving me with 13 HP. I take it out and heal back to 47 HP. Magneton comes in and I put it to sleep and use 3 Draining Kisses to take it out and bring me back to full health. Manectric comes in and threatens with Signal Beam, Aurora Beam and Flamethrower, but Watson decides to use Volt Switch instead after Manectric took a Draining Kiss which brought it into the red. Lantern is a one-shot with Giga Drain and Manectric comes back in to faint as well. Rotom Mow is last but can only hit a Toxic before fainting to 2 Dragon Kisses for a deathless Watson. I did get lucky with Sleep Powder hitting twice, but I would not have needed that luck had I not already been unlucky with the Psychic crit and special defense drop in one turn. If you haven't figured it out already, Lilligant is amazing mid-game. I catch a Sandygast from the Slateport City Sand Castles, which helps against Hiker Trent's exploding golems. I also catch a Ruffet, a Minior, a Ducklet, a Grumpig, a Machoke named Choke Me, and a Diglett named Dicklet, because once again, Chat and I are very mature. I then plan for Flannery, not before wasting time looking up the weirdest breeding combinations in Pokemon. Hey, did you know that Wailord and Skitty can—
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Anyway, I then waste some more time building a secret base for the first time ever and realize that you can play musical notes? Well, get ready for the best concert you've ever heard. Now that you know about the inner Mozart in me, let's move on with the run. I almost kill a Spinda, which then decides to kill itself by using Double Edge. Not my fault at all, the Spinda was just stupid. For the Meteor Falls double battle, I lead Palossand to get rid of Ninetales Trot. May decides to put in a shift though. Her Sceptile takes out Excadrill in one shot with Focus Blast. Rapidash takes out Houndoom, and almost one-shots Crocodile with Jump Kick, and Mimikyu takes out Shiftry with a Play Rough. I chipped in to take out the other Pokemon and finished the fight deathless, but May was awesome in that battle. Up next is a fight with Magma Admin Tabitha. Lilligant can take out Gigalith, which brings in Darmanitan. I switch in Dugtrio with a Focus Sash to take a Flare Blitz, and it thankfully does not get burned, allowing me to take out Darmanitan with one Earthquake. Steelix comes in, which can be taken out with Palossand. Gliscor is walled by Minior. For the Maxi battle, Minior takes out Crobat, Starmie takes out Camerupt, Weezing and Victreebel, and Magneton with Aurora Beam can take out Zoelius. There's a controversial part where I accidentally say yes to the surprise Frontier Brain Lucy fight, despite not knowing about it. I consider this a mulligan and immediately decide to intentionally wipe so that I can prepare for the battle better, and after about 5 minutes of prep, I am able to beat her deathless with mostly the same team. The only reason I consider this a mulligan was because I had no idea that the game added the fight and panicked, thinking that it would be unbeatable without long time to prep. However, to punish myself for panicking when I could have just won the first time around if I had prepped, I decided to sacrifice 2 Pokemon, Grumpig and Ducklet, who never got to have a battle. This takes my death count to 4. I will say that this will not be a regular occurrence for my Nuzlockes, and I've already done a few different runs after this where I did not redo surprise boss fights even if I wiped or lost multiple Pokemon. This was my first run and I panicked and did not know how to react, so I hope you understand why I decided to redo the battle. I feel like the punishment of sacrificing 2 Pokemon is harsh enough. However, if you disagree, use the comment section to let me know. At this point, I was very confident with the run, especially with only 4 deaths and great encounters including Gyarados, Lilligant, Magneton, Electros, Hariyama and Greninja. These become even better once the game allows me to modify EVs, IVs and abilities. Little did I know what was to come. I start taking the game very lightly owing to my overconfidence and prepare much less than I should do for the next few boss fights while playing very recklessly. For Flannery, I lead with Palossand to take out Torkoal with 2 Earth powers. Palossand was given special defense and HP EVs to handle Torkoal's overheat in the sun even if it crit. Gyarados takes out Houndoom after taking 2 Dark Pulses, which thankfully do not flinch or crit. Things go bad now though. I bring in Palossand on Blaze against Thunder Punch, then switch in Lumineon to take an overheat. And then, for the second time this run, I forget that electric moves are super effective on water types and stay in with Lumineon on Blaze against Thunder Punch. And so, Lumineon is my 5th death. Whiscash comes in to take out Blaziken with an Earthquake. Flannery sends in Volcarona, which has Quiver Dance and Giga Drain, but a held Rindoberry means that I can get off a Rock Tomb before another planned sacrifice for Whiscash. Starmie comes in and can take out Volcarona with 2 Surfs after tanking a non-critical hit Giga Drain. I have no idea why I did not use Power Gem there. Anyway, Talonflame comes in and is brought down to the red with Palossand before being finished off with Greninja. I then have to make 2 sacrifices to let Gyarados come in safely against Arcanine and take it out with Waterfall. I could have just used 1 sack there, but did not realize that Gyarados outsped Arcanine and could have just come in after I lost Starmie. So, Flannery is defeated, but at what cost? My deaths have doubled after this fight, from 4 to 8. However, I don't learn from my lesson, and the next part of the game is the dreaded Twitch stream number 7. Some context. At this point, I had barely started streaming on Twitch and didn't feel like wasting time during streams. This led to me making several rash decisions, including wiping to May during Attempt 2 and the Battle Frontier fight that I mentioned earlier. This would never hit me worse than it did for stream number 7 though. This 90-minute massacre started with me losing Magneton to Camper Brandon's Farfetch'd after it got a critical hit with Sacred Sword. This was on me though for not playing around the crit, especially considering Farfetch'd has a higher chance to do so. Magneton is a really good Pokemon as well, so I definitely should have realized that I'm risking it. I do get my desert encounter, which is a Sandile. I go back to Petalburg City and get ready to face my lovely father. Look, I know he's never around, but I think everyone has always given flack to Norman despite me literally leaving my house the first chance I got just like him. He's a role model for becoming one of the most famous trainers in Hoenn, something that I aspire to as well. I can't wait to earn his respect by giving him his best fight yet. Before that, I have to prove my worth against his gym trainers. The speed and confusion rooms are easy. For the strength room, I take out Ace Trainer Jodie's Zangoose with Gyarados. Fearing a wild charge from her Buffel, I switch, but it sets up Swords Dance instead and cleanly one-shots Machamp with a reckless boosted head charge. I bring in Hariyama to use Fake Out for chip damage and then switch to Minior, which thankfully doesn't get crit with head charge and activates its shield down. A super effective Rock Smash at 50 base power can easily take... Oh. Well, I had another brain fart and clicked on Acrobatics despite my item not being consumed yet. That meant that the move had an effective base power of 82.5 after considering Stab, while Rock Smash would have been at 100 base power, which would have definitely taken out the Buffland. But wait, there's more. I bring in Staraptor, forget that I have a choice band, and use Quick Attack rather than Brave Word or Close Combat. Porygon Z with a Life Orb comes in and gets a special attack boost due to download, which means that I need to sacrifice Staraptor to allow me to take it out with 2 Fake Outs and Life Orb chip. A much better play there would have been to just let Electros die for the free switch and save Staraptor, which hits incredibly hard with Choice Band Close Combat and Reckless Brave Word, while also doubling up as an Intimidate user. My deaths have gone from 9 to 12 in this battle. I didn't prepare for it, assuming that it would be a cakewalk because most non-boss fights have been relatively straightforward up until that point. So, it was time for me to start preparing for every battle now. I mean, it would be really stupid to go into the Norman fight underprepared when one of his ace traders almost wiped us, right? I think you know where this is going. Norman leads with Swellow and I lead with Electros and expect a U-turn, but Swellow uses Facade instead and I use Thunder Wave instead of just wild charging. Swellow then manages to outspeed and now hits a U-turn to bring in Slaking on a weak wild charge. I switch in Persian to take the Giga Impact, letting my father destroy my Posey in the process. Gyarados can intimidate Slaking and use a Dragon Dance. It hits Waterfall and Slaking hits back with Yawn, which normally is the best case scenario, except I didn't give Gyarados a Lumberry and gave it leftovers instead. You know, due to lack of prep. This means that Gyarados is asleep when Swellow comes in and I have to switch to avoid taking a boosted Facade. Azumarill is the second sacrifice of this battle. I use Coil with Electros, correctly predicting a U-turn. Exploud comes in and thankfully I don't die to Boom Burst and can paralyze it using Electros. I go for Brick Break, which does not kill because it has leftovers rather than an attack boosting item. You know, because of lack of prep. Anyway, Electros faints and I can use Lilligant to take out Exploud. This just baits in Swellow again, and I only have 3 Pokemon left, one of which is asleep and the other 2 faint to brave words from Swellow, which means that the fight is effectively lost. There's only one win condition left though, and it involves dodging every crit, waking up early and getting paralysis luck on Swellow. Gyarados switches in, and Swellow does remain paralyzed, but I obviously don't wake up on turn 1 of sleep. I switch in Hariyama for some chip damage with Fake Out and switch back Gyarados for another Intimidate, but Swellow switches out again with a U-turn. Tauros comes in and I have to let it take out Gyarados. Hariyama can tank a non-critical hit close combat and take out Tauros, but there's no point. Swellow comes back in to knock out Hariyama with Facade. Lilligant comes in and I'm ready for attempt 4. Normally, knowing that Lilligant outspeeds, at that point I'm expected to go for Draining Kiss and hope for a high roll kill. However, at that point, I somehow recognize that with 2 Pokemon in the back for Norman, my win condition and most optimal choice is to go for Quiver Dance instead and hope that Swellow stays fully paralyzed. I click on Quiver Dance and Swellow stays paralyzed. This is unbelievable. I take it out with Draining Kiss. Linoone comes in, and rather than risking a miss with Sleep Powder, I go for max damage with Petal Dance because Own Tempo means that Lilligant can never get confused. Petal Dance at +1 one-shots the Linoone, and Mega Kangaskhan's Facade can't even kill with a critical hit, so I two-shot it to somehow defeat my deadbeat in-game dad who left his family to knock out some 10-year-old trainer's pets for his own sickening pleasure. Forget what I said earlier. Screw you, Norman. With my misplaced anger, which should really be directed at myself for being underprepared, out of the way, I move on even though the number of deaths have more than doubled on stream to 17. And despite all of that, I continue to take the game lightly, losing Mr. Mind to Triathlete Kyra's Scolipede and Audino to Fisherman Barry's Sharpedo. Between those 2 deaths, it happens. I get so reckless that I lose my best Pokemon until this point, Lilligant, to avoidable trainer Black Belt Koichi's Lucario on Route 115. That's a total of 20 deaths, and I still have the entire second half of the game left. I've lost some really good Pokemon in Lilligant, Gyarados, Mega Audino, Magneton, Staraptor, and Minior. Watching this part of the run back is so incredibly frustrating because of how aloof I was being about every battle, not even thinking about RNG not going my way. At this point, I had basically given up because I was dreading the potential snowball effect from losing 20 Pokemon. I was down on myself and my confidence was incredibly low, and so I was ready to wipe at any point from this time on. Before that though, there's one last roll of the dice. If you recall from earlier, I delayed my Route 115 encounter for the chance at getting a Swellow after having access to Surf. Now that I've beaten Norman, I can finally go there. I eventually walk into the grass on Route 115, holding my breath, and I'm just gonna send Ultra Balls now. We have a Swellow! The run is alive! Now, Swellow isn't by any means game breaking, and it isn't even necessary to beat the game. But for some reason, I just believed that Swellow would save me. Call it blind faith or unreasonable optimism or both. I was holding on to that one last chance to salvage the run, and now I had it. I also catch an Elekid in the power plant, which unbeknownst to me at the time will prove to be one of the best Pokemon I've ever used. What happens next? I will continue with the second part of attempt 3 in another video, as this video has gone long enough now. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope you've enjoyed up until this point. Please let me know if you have any feedback, as this is my first video which isn't just a cut down of my streams. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe so that I know that you're eager to watch part 2. You should also check out my Twitch and Twitter accounts if you'd like to join for current runs that I'm streaming. Until then, you can watch the Twitch VODs on this channel to catch highlights of other challenges that I've done. Thank you very much, and see ya.